Hey guys, Justin Colby here. Welcome back to this channel, and on this video we are going to talk about how to buy your first rental property. This has been a question asked of me a ton since I've been buying a lot of rental properties. So if you are interested in buying rental properties, make sure you watch this video. Stay tuned. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Justin Colby, and on this video we are talking about how to buy your first rental property. But if you are interested in business, real estate, and entrepreneurship, make sure you are not just liking this video, but subscribe to my channel. I go through all things business, real estate, and entrepreneurship, as well as make sure you turn on your notifications because those are your reminders that I just dropped another video. So let's get into the topic at hand, which honestly, I'm getting the most questions about within my business. It's not how am I wholesaling more, it's quite literally how am I buying so many rentals right now. Most people don't have rentals, so I wanted to actually break down my method, but how you can buy your first rental and break it down systematically with the top 4 steps that you will need to take to be able to find your rental, finance your rental, buy your rental, and start collecting checks. So first, the number one question I typically get is, why do you choose Oklahoma City to buy rentals in? So I'm going to reframe the question. I'm going to ask you, how are you going to find the right market to buy rentals in? My answer for you would be, I have a formula that I want to stay at the median price point, 30% under the national median price point. So right now, the national median price point is roughly $325,000, give or take, nationally. I want to be in markets that are going to be roughly 30 to 40%, ideally, under that number. So essentially, I want to be in markets that are at around $225,000 median price point, around. What I'll tell you about Oklahoma City and the properties that I'm buying is I'm way below that. As a moment in time, I'm buying homes for about $20,000. I'm putting in $40,000 or $50,000, and they're renting for $80 or $850 a month. Now, I would encourage you to find those types of cities. Now, some of the things that I use to make sure it's a good market and not just some random rural market at a low price point will be, I want to make sure that there are major sports teams in and around the area. I also want to make sure that major universities or military bases around the area. Those are 2 criteria that I use to make sure I'm in the right market to buy a rental. Now, that's just what market should you be in. You might be in the absolute perfect market. You also might not. I'm actually in Phoenix, Arizona, and at one point in time, this was the perfect market to buy more and more rentals. But as of right now, I just simply can't get the same rate of return I can as when I buy rentals in Oklahoma City. There are a lot of cities that you can find 30 to 40% of national median price point. So do some of your research. Find out where properties are selling and make sure it is under 30 to 40% of the national median. Now, with that said, the second largest question that I tend to get will be is, how am I financing them? Well, first of all, there's several different ways you can finance them. So let's go through that checklist because you quite honestly have options. Now, the first one would be is to go to a bank and put down roughly 20% down to buy an investment property. That's pretty traditional when you're dealing with a bank. Now, that would likely be the cheapest interest loan that you're going to be able to get. But if you're buying a rental property and you don't have too much cash, putting 20% down can be a little expensive and might price people out of buying a rental property. Now, the next one, and this is somewhat new to the industry, so there are probably not a lot of videos talking about this. By the way, if you want to hear that secret, smash the like button and make sure you subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Turn on those notifications too. So the secret, which really isn't a secret, but this is new to the industry, some national hard money lenders who really are meant to for fix and flips, and I use more in the fix and flip model. They are opening up lines of credit and opportunity for portfolio lending, whether it's one or multiple properties at a time. This has been a huge game changer. I myself have actually gone out and we got a $5 million line of credit specifically for long-term hold rentals. This is not a good option for if I'm going to flip the property, because if I flip it very quickly, there's actually fees and costs associated with reselling the property quickly. Literally, this loan is meant for rentals. So now the companies that I personally applied to and got approved with will be Lending Home and Lima Capital. Go ahead and do your own due diligence about those companies, but they are going to put you through an application the same the bank would. Now, they themselves will have certain ratios that you have to come in with acquisition and down payment. But what I can tell you is, if you do have the cash to buy a home, they are a great option to refinance out. They are also an incredible option to acquire with. See, what they do is they actually give you acquisition and rehab funds, not 100%, but pretty darn close. And what they do is, instead of a flip loan, they essentially roll you over into a portfolio loan so you can keep it for the long term. Quite literally, as good as it gets, right next to going to a more corporate institutional bank. So this is a huge new option, because not brand new, but relatively new, for people to go in and buy their first rental. An incredible option. Is the interest rate going to be as low as the bank? No. But based around the extra 2% interest relative to the bank, it doesn't move your needle enough to change the ROI on your return on investment. Now let's talk about your return on your investment. Here's a big tip. Go to thescienceofflipping.com, and I have rental portfolio calculators, meaning you can just use the calculators that I've built into my website to see where all the money breaks down. Now, a huge tip, suggestion, hack is for you to really understand all the costs of owning a rental. Because it's not just about buying a rental and being able to afford buying the rental, but you want to make sure you buy a rental, and in my case, BRRRR the rental, rehab it, and then rent it, and then refinance out your money. And that actually will bring in what your ROI is going to be, based around what your interest rate is, based around what your taxes is, based around what your vacancy is. The calculator on my website, The Science of Flipping, will give that to you. So you just want to start to practice that, because ultimately you want to make sure you have a good ROI on your rental. Now that's why when I do it and I look at the difference between a bank that's going to ask me for 20% down, or one of these, let's just call them hard money lenders, but they're really almost soft money lenders, is you actually can have a higher interest rate, but because you don't have to have so much money into the property, it actually makes more sense. You still just want to make sure that you're buying a good investment property and you're getting a return on your investment. The other financial way to buy these properties is bring in a capital partner. Have someone that has a lot of cash. You can be the real estate, they can be the capital partner, and you can start buying. Now, I really encourage you to do that, and then still go back to part number 2 there, where you have what I'd like to call soft money partners, that they can refi that cash back out so that your capital partner, who has the cash, can just help you buy more and more properties. So part number 3 that I really encourage you to understand is just knowing your numbers. And I mentioned that before, but that's really, really important. So depending upon what part number 4 is, which is your method, whether you BRRRR method or housing hack method or any of those methods, I want you to understand your numbers. So if you buy a property and you have a loan on it, and you have an interest rate, and you have vacancy, and you have property management, and you have taxes, you need to make sure you're buying it right so that you have a good return on your investment. If you don't know your numbers, it can be a loser. In fact, I've had plenty of friends who have bought their first rental because they got really excited and they didn't know what I know. They didn't ask me the questions. They didn't go to my website. They didn't use my calculators. Again, go to thescienceofflipping.com, use my calculators for free. And they bought it because they thought it was the right numbers, right? I bought it for $100,000 and it rents for $1,000 a month. In the perfect world, that would be a good rental. But what they didn't account for was property taxes. They didn't account for vacancy a month every single year. They didn't account for that they weren't going to do their own property management, and that property managements take 10% typically off the top. They didn't know their numbers. So point number 3 here is you have to know your numbers. Practice over and over again, run different models, look at different properties, put all the pertinent information into the calculator so you can spit out what your ROI is. I can tell you what I aim for. I want the 1% model. Like I just said, if I'm all into the property for 100 grand, I want it to rent for $1,000 a month. That's what I want. Because once you start to take off the property management, once you start to take off taxes, you really don't get or stay at that 1% model. You're going to be closer to 0.07, 0.08%. So that's really the model that makes a whole lot of sense, and it is a very profitable model. That's what I aim for. Now, there are investors that are buying at a lower number than that. For me, I like to stay a little bit more conservative, and I shoot for the 1% model. If my all-in number is at 100 grand, I want to make $1,000 a month. Now, lastly, guys, let's talk about your strategy. There are several different strategies, and I've loosely talked about them through this training, but there are several different strategies that you can buy your first rental. House hacking can be one. That's when you actually buy like a duplex, you rent one side, you live in one side, and essentially you don't have a mortgage, or your tenant is paying for the entire mortgage of a duplex. That's a great strategy. It's not the strategy I'm using. However, it is a great strategy. I actually favor the BRRRR method. That's when you buy it, rehab it, rent it, refinance, and then you repeat. And if you guys haven't yet checked out my video about the BRRRR method, in fact, a couple of them, make sure to click the link below to check out that video right here on my YouTube about the BRRRRs that I'm actively doing. The reason why I like this is because of the financing options. So whether I want to bring in a capital partner that has a bunch of cash so we can acquire really quickly and rehab really quickly and then refinance out, that's really important to me. So then there's the BRRRR method. That's my preferred method. The reason being is because you can have different finance options here. Now let me explain. Maybe you have a friend, family member, or otherwise who has a bunch of cash who wants to come in as a capital partner. Well, they can use their cash to acquire and rehab, and then you can go refinance out with either a bank or what I like to call the soft money partners that I was talking about. The other opportunity by doing the BRRRR method is use the hard money, the real hard money, not soft money, the money that was meant for flipping. What you can do is, even though it's more expensive, and let's call it 10% interest, you can buy it with the hard money, rehab it, and some hard money is actually reimburse you for the rehab, and then you can refinance out with a bank or one of your soft money partners like Lending Home or Lima Capital. And then hopefully you bought right enough and you did a solid rehab so that you are essentially pulling all of your money back out and you're into the property with zero of your own dollars. This is why I love this model the most, is because if you do this correctly and you understand your numbers, which was part 3 of this training, is you can essentially buy rentals and never have any of your own money into it ever. Okay? That is massively, massively important, especially when you're talking about your ROI. Here's the thing. If you have no money into your investment and every month you are making a couple $100, do you know what your ROI is? Oh, it's called infinite. You have infinite ROI if you have no money in and you're only making money every single month. And then why not just rinse and repeat? That's why it's called the BRRRR method. You can just do it over and over and over and over again. This is hands down the best way, in my opinion, to buy rentals. Now again, the 4 pillars of buying your first rental is pick the market, keep to a market that is 30 to 40% under the national median price point. You then want to make sure you line up your financing. You can use banks if you'd like. You can use capital partners. You can use soft money or hard money, if you will, to be able to go and buy these properties. Make sure you know the numbers. Make sure you understand that this purchase is a good ROI, return on your investment, and make sure it gives you a good return each and every month, no matter what. And lastly, guys, stick to a strategy. I particularly like the BRRRR method. I can do it on single family homes. I can do it on multi-units. And guess what? When you do this enough and you have no money into the game, and then you want to sell your entire portfolio and go buy a 1,000-unit apartment complex like our boy Grant Cardone, then you have the option to do that. So hopefully this gets you excited. Hopefully you like it enough to smash the like button. Make sure you are subscribing and make sure you turn on your notifications. I look forward to helping you guys through your journey to buying more rentals. And if you're interested in wholesaling and building a flip business, also make sure you go to thescienceofflipping.com, fill out the simple form right there, and I will see if I will be a good coach for you. With that said, I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.